Hey, how's it going, everybody? This is John Wydogan with Natural Freedom League. You can find us at naturalfreedomleague.com. Here once again with my producer and co-host, Chill Will Keller.
What's going on, gentlemen?
Hey
What's up?
there.
What's up, Will? And we have
Gia.
our special guest today, Philip Roy, coming straight from Texas. What's up, Philip?
Hey, how's it going?
What up?
Going good. So, the first time I remember coming across you, I think, is with the True Media roundtables. As the first time I kind of saw you, but I also was making the connection. I think we were friends through maybe the Natural Law group or something like that on Facebook, or maybe like a Discord group. Like I know I've seen you know I've seen you in different places. So, but
Right on.
I also saw that you were starting a publication, like a magazine or a periodical, called
That's
the
right.
More Light Journal.
That's right.
So how did you get to the place that you're at with starting this journal?
Well, I'd say it started with Mark Passio's media class and just going through that and the skills I've learned and the self-esteem boost that it is to like learn and move forward and keep pushing that ball forward and the networking of course is a big part of that. People in the class that and on the Discord there ended up being a spin-off for writers, and we were all just kind of chatting about what we could do to put something together, use our minds and come up with something. And I came up with this idea of the More Light Journal, and it's something that one of my biggest criticisms against the truth movement, for lack of a better term, is that it's very left brained, and there's a lack of art and reverence for intuition and that creative right brained aspect. So I wanted to bring the two together. I wanted it to be like a literary journal where people could submit their writings, but also like poetry or satire, spoken word, and also their visual art, paintings, sculpture, the sky's the limit. I could list all the different kinds of visual art and not stop for a while. So, I wanted it to be holistic, and I wanted it to be something that really highlighted other people's work, especially if they're just, getting started on putting their own work out there and doing the great work. I wanted it to be anything that, you can just submit and just see like a variety of different people putting together cool stuff in one issue, and that's the goal. And I think so far it's doing good. There's always room for improvement with every project, and it'll just keep getting better as we progress and kind of get the word out. And I think it might inspire some people as well. And yeah, there's a lot of cool things we're adding to that. I'm really proud of the Agorist classifieds. So I think that the counter economy is a big part of what is going to, keep people afloat and dismantle status relationships and just get out of them. And so, we're not like middlemen or getting in between that. But if anybody has like a business product or service that they want to have a little piece there in the back of the magazine, they can connect with others too for services that they're looking for. So I think that's a pretty attractive thing to have for people who are in that type of mindset and community that we're all coming from. And yeah, so the More Light Journal, The name came from a quote that I read, and it just kind of like haunted me for a while. And it was by Goethe. I don't know if you guys know who Goethe Goeth. That's how it looks like it'd be. Yeah, so that's his last words. More light, with an exclamation point at the end. I just thought that was like, wow, light is a heavy metaphor, for truth, and that's what I want to do with the magazine. Is I want to spread more light, spread it around, and yeah, to kind of put it in a symbolic term, the torch is the symbol that we went with for our logo, and I feel that Mark Passio's True Media class, he really has done a lot to spread the light and light other people's torches, and now it's sort of our turn to go along our paths and carry that torch forward and spread that light wherever it is that the path is taking us.
Man, that's phenomenal. I love the concept for a few reasons. One, like you said, tapping into the creative, right brain, holistic essence. We all know art, music, poetry, writing. This has huge influence on people. It's just not just the standard, just video that everyone's doing. It's something different, and that's amazing because that has huge influence. But you're also creating a network where people can submit their work and kind of combine their energy. And I think it creates a lot more momentum when something like that happens. It's like John and I, instead of doing individual stuff, John was already established and I was getting my stuff established. We combined forces to create something, even better. And it's awesome. I think the more energy you put into something, especially with multiple people, you're going to have a tremendous effect. So I love that whole concept. And I like how on the website you use a term, you use Renaissance.
Yeah,
And
so the tagline is more like journals, the journal for the new Renaissance, and that is part of my inspiration, being thinking about like the last Renaissance and how hermetic knowledge made its way into the hands of some people, and they translated it and proliferated it, and it inspired all these artists and architects, and really just changed the landscape, literally and metaphorically, of like Europe at that time, especially art. If you look at art pre-Renaissance, it's very lifeless. It's very devoid of color. It's lacking that sacred feminine quality.
mm,
And then it comes through, and then you can look at the art, post that moment, and it's very full of color and life. It's really dramatic to look at, like a side by side of pre-Renaissance art in that time period and then after the fact. So and I think that it's that sacred feminine coming in, and it's not a true Renaissance without it. And so that's what I kind of want to breathe life into, is the artistic ideals, those Venusian aspects that truly inspire and are like a back door or like a Trojan horse to getting into people's minds. I mean, think of like tarot cards, for instance. Tarot cards say so much with a picture,
mm,
and there's so much symbolism and depth in them, and it mystery traditions, different schools will meditate on these cards, and that's how the insight comes to you. It's not from reading the book where it says, yeah, this means that, no, that's not, it takes time for those symbols to speak to you. And that's what I think we need to do, is we need to realize that there's this whole other arm of influence that isn't being utilized, and art is a part of that, and
mm.
it's so important. It's such an understatement. Like it's so important.
Yeah. Well, even the term Renaissance means, revival of art-based learning, and also
Mhm.
means spiritual rebirth.
Rebirth. Yep,
Rebirth,
that's
but
right.
in like a spiritual sense. Yeah, so that's amazing. And I think you're right. Mark Passio said something. Uh, some caller said, "How do we battle the unconscious masses?" And Mark said, "Well, we have to be artists, right? We have to
Mhm.
create, and uh, through art, we shed light, we make the unconscious conscious." And it stuck with me, and I love it. So
I love that. Yeah, that goes hand in hand with what we're talking about. That's
yeah,
magnificent. Yeah, more light right
more
there.
light, brother.
Yeah. So, that being said, I just want to inspire people, and I wanted to come up with a cool project based on, the gifts that I have, and writing, editing. I'm kind of a mercurial person, and I do a little painting. It's more for like therapy. I feel like painting is really cathartic for me. And yeah, maybe some of that will make its way in there, but I really just yeah, I just want to serve truth, and this is my first little bit of dipping my feet into the big boy waters of really putting something out there, and influencing minds and into the right direction, you know. And it's all natural law based. Everything that's going to be in that journal is going to be founded on natural law. I just read, um, we have an astrologer doing a column, which is really exciting. And I just read her article, and she just like tied everything that's been going on in the sky back to natural law and our sovereignty. And I'm so excited for it. It's probably one of the biggest gems that you'll see in the first journal when it comes out. But
Mm.
yeah, so like I want to create a culture of people doing the great work, and I want it to be something that anyone can peer into and see, like, oh, there's a movement. These people are talking about something. These people are principled, and they're doing something, and they're inspiring each other, and they're creating art. And any good fire creates light. So the more fire we can put into that, like you were talking about with the synergy, I think that's it could be something that creates a lot of momentum potentially.
So
Absolutely.
what format will it be in? Is it like, will there be like volume one and then like that'll be like a whole compilation, but then it'll initially be online, but then you
Yeah,
could
so
potentially print it if you wanted to, or
that's something that we're going to look into in the future for sure, or at the very least maybe an annual compendium of sorts. It's going to be PDF, and it's going to be something that you can just download, be a quick download, and just digest. And there will be a corresponding video channel for some things, that not necessarily be like the same, like attached together, but like the video channel will kind of draw people into the journal, and vice versa. And there are some things that um, we can do with that can expand on things, like say it's like a spoken word that somebody does. Well, you want to be able to go see that person, hear him talking at the very least. Or say there's like a book review that people are doing, and you want to have a roundtable discussion on it as well. That could be a part of that. And as well as just basic promotional aspects. So I could see the video aspect taking some weight, just because everything's multimedia now. But as far as the issue goes, it's going to be just maybe some audio, maybe, but it's just going to be like visual media and text, and just a easy download.
Yeah, there's so much you can do with the with just a PDF journal like that, right? You can have hyperlinks and
Yeah.
you know, all kinds of stuff, so that the options are endless, and that's phenomenal. Man, you took the How to Be the True Media class, and then as soon as that was over, boom, you just went running and created your website and getting it going, man. That's impressive.
Yeah, well, I will give credit to Andy Brookshire. He is the website designer. He does a lot of the executive stuff, and he's been a huge help for this. And he has he has the layout experience, so he's going to be a big part of putting together the nuts and bolts of the journal when it comes out. But yeah, I wanted to get it started. My philosophy of things is just keep the ball rolling, just keep moving it forward, even if it's just an inch at a time, because that's progress. That's how you get things done. And I don't do well with being stagnant, I guess.
For
Yeah,
sure.
I could see like with the events we do, it'd be fun to print out a couple of copies of your journal and just have them there. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
even a small sampling of it, people might pick it up just for some reading. And it's just, you know, we try to hit them with all different levels. You know, you never know like when you come across somebody what they're stuck on, you know, and
right.
what aspect of some issue might hook them to listen and be able to hear what you're saying, you know. So I think it's great that you're putting it in that format, you know, where, you know, it could be, you know, something you print out and hand out to people, and you know, get the word out in that way, because we're all about getting around the algorithm, you know.
Yes.
Getting offline and, you know, using different, you know, even though this is online, it's still a different avenue. It's not like Facebook necessarily, you know.
Right, right. And there's an email list, so like just go to the website and get on the email list, and that issue is going to go straight to your inbox. So that's a great part. But I like what you said about printing it out and using it for, different purposes, whatever rallies or you have a table, and it's definitely going to be a way to reach people on topics like natural law, and to see, more than just Mark Passio videos.
Hmm.
So yeah, get it everywhere, everywhere. Like, just we need to saturate the world with natural law knowledge for humanity to finally make that choice.
Yeah, that's what it means to have more teachers, right? It's people stepping into their attributes and their strengths, and then kind of owning that with the foundational principles of objective truth and natural law, and that everyone's going to bring their own unique flavor. And you know, I think majority of people are visual learners, so of course art, you know, paintings, drawings, all that stuff's going to have a huge influence on people. So
Absolutely. That's the plan.
So what was your path to like discovering Mark Passio's work, and just kind of your journey through the different traditions that maybe you've discovered either through Mark Passio or before Mark Passio?
Yeah, that's a good one. I started my journey just being curious about what was going on in the world, being fresh out of high school. And then, the recession happens in '08. Everyone's talking about the Fed and the banks and bailouts and all this stuff. And just me trying to wrap my head around, what is an economy? Why didn't I learn any of this? What is going on? Why people around me freaking out and saying, this is going to affect jobs and all this stuff. So, I started searching, and I never felt comfortable in the little, Republican Democrat cubby holes. And sort of like strange. One day I came home, my brother was sitting on the porch and there was Alex Jones playing, and I just kind of caught a little bit of it and started listening to Alex Jones a lot, and I would just sit there and just start typing when he like made claims and just like try to fact check what he's saying, and found out that there's a lot of truth to some of the things that he says. And um I eventually went down to a Bilderberg protest in Chantilly, Virginia. I wanted to see it for myself, and I wanted to see what was going on, and saw that there was a very small gathering of people outside, and it was raining when I came down, so I think a lot of them were in the hotels, but saw the limos coming in, and just realized like, okay, like there's definitely a presence of evil, I could say, at that spot in Virginia, in that hotel, the Marriott, or wherever it was. And I was like on the other side as this force that's gonna be the opposite of that. And that was like sort of like my first vow, doing the great work before I knew what the great work was. And I, eventually started branching out and listening to other media personalities. And one of my favorite was a guy named Popeye, did Down the Rabbit Hole. And Mark was a guest on his show several times and blew my mind with his explanations of the esoteric breakdowns of the Matrix trilogy, and talking about true freedom. And eventually I made his way to his website and started going down the rabbit hole. And before that, I thought, I was one of those people that was like, all Freemasonry, it's evil, all this occult stuff, it's oogie boogie. And Mark really opened my eyes to the truth behind that, behind the fact that the occult is just knowledge and a tool at best. And I started going down that rabbit hole of the mystery schools, and what is all this knowledge, what is all this esoteric knowledge that's been hidden from us, and you know how does that fit into what this guy like Mark Passio is saying about natural law. And I found my path in Rosicrucianism. There's a lot of different branches of Rosicrucianism, but that's kind of like I've been walking that for so long that I call that home. And I'm a big fan of Max Heindel, Rudolf Steiner, some of the stuff Amorc has put out. Um, so many people. And I started like really truly waking up to the fact that this is a spiritual reality we're in, and we have souls, and we're here to build those souls and acquire wisdom so we can be good beings. And that's the mission, and that's what we're here for. And there's so much that I can say on that. And it's like, it's not anything that's hidden. You just have to read some books and use your discernment and look within yourself to find these things. And where I'm at now is I've gone through the grammar and the logic, and I'm ready to start putting work out there. I think natural law is going to be the first thing that I touch, just because it's the most important. But I think that there is a lot to be said about natural law in the light of like the science of near-death experiences. I think that's a huge chunk of the puzzle. Um, you know, um, there's tens of thousands of recorded experiences of people dying and coming back, and they go through what's called a life review, and they view their life as if it's this panoramic movie, and not just from their perspective, but the perspective of other people, especially those that they've been cruel to or aggressed against. And I think that's nature helping us acquire that wisdom of natural law through this cycle of reincarnation. And it's, to me, evidence that the golden rule is a major facet of this spiritual journey. And I don't think that it should be overlooked. I think everyone should, consider looking into near death experiences, out of body experiences. And there's really something to it. There's really something to it. And it's people of all cultures, all continents, over so much span of time. And then now, because medical technology is getting better and better, and we're able to bring people back to life, and they're able to have these experiences and share them. And there's a lot of good science coming out in regards to that. And I think that you know uh, the worst thing to happen to humanity is this lie of materialism. And it's like that's like the root of all satanic ideology. And I think that the science in the last 100 years totally dispels materialism. Rupert Sheldrake's got some good stuff on that. But just going back to NDEs and this life review, it's gnarly to think about. And also, you know, it's the good news. It's the good news. We're here to do good and figure out what that means first. But we're here to do good and to actually have heaven on earth instead of the hell that we've created through ignorance. So that's kind of like where I've been and where I'm at now, and what I'm trying to articulate through my rhetoric to people. That's a huge part of it.
That's awesome, man. I love hearing people's stories, just because I can see the parallels in my own personal journey and stuff like that. I mean, with out of body experiences, I got into Robert Monroe pretty big, and it's,
Mm.
you know, it, all these big questions, right? That philosophy is the pathway to find out these answers. Um, excuse me, the information is there. There's tons of information. It's just that most people don't look for it. They won't start that journey. Um, but when you start to dive into those big questions, you start to realize that the world isn't what you think it is. It's something completely different, and you can hash out these little details that the mainstream, the exoteric wants to say that you can't know. Like, for instance, the meaning of life, right? Most people would say, "Oh, you can't answer that question. It's different for everyone." I disagree. I think the meaning of life is actually very simple. We're here to grow in consciousness, to grow our soul and do experience. It's like a schoolyard. Um, you know,
100%. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And I think, a lot of people that have utilized philosophy and dive into nature and true spirituality, they can answer a lot of these questions. Not saying that we have all the answers, but from the majority of people that do not start that journey, there's tons of information out there, and it's just mind-blowing where it can take you.
And that's why I put forth this idea that we can have a new renaissance. We're just swimming in knowledge. I can get on my computer and I can decide what spiritual path I want to take, what I want to learn. I could go into Rosicrucianism. I could go into Gnostic Christianity, and I could go into Freemasonry, and I could go into esoteric Buddhism, and I could go into Taoism and Qigong and do all that. And it's at my fingertips. It's like going to the grocery store and you've got 100 different varieties of fruit to take, and we've never had that before in our society. And so this is where we're at, and it's about, we're in this era of like ignorance in the presence of knowledge, and there's a fork in the road for humanity to decide, do we want to take the path that leads to wisdom, or do we want to suffer for a few hundred more centuries or millennia, and not get it, and just keep having to come back here, come back here, and come back here, and each time the mess that we have yet to clean up is still there and getting worse. So
Mm.
it's like we have so many options to um, what kind of path we want to take, what kind of knowledge, and it's waiting for you. And I think that the truth is a force in the universe that is is searching for you just as much as you will be searching for it. And if you are, it will find you. Truth finds you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had this lady I used to work with, and her husband used to say, everyone's responsible for their own orgasm. And it's like, I never really knew what it meant until kind of recently. Like, I can try to tell people and give them as much information as possible, but if they're going to choose to be willfully ignorant, it's interesting if you think about it from the depopulation plan. It's like they're letting these people do it to themselves. And I can see where, even though that seems wrong, that is in alignment with natural law, right?
That's
Because
right.
like
Yeah.
you're saying, the information's there. Not only is the information there, they're mocking us with it. They're mocking us with it. They're putting it in our face, and they're saying, how much can we get away with? And the people who are going along with it, the people who are going to, you know follow the orders, are the ones who are going to die. you know and like, that makes me sad, because a lot of those people are my family members. But I came to this point today where I'm like, maybe that's what they want. you know Maybe their souls just want to leave. You know what I mean? And they've given up to a certain extent. Again, I don't think, I mean, obviously we're doing a great work, we're trying to get the word out there in every way possible we can. But I do think there's some souls who are maybe just, for now, they're like, I'm checking out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. It's really unfortunate, because they don't realize that they're hurting themselves. They're hurting themselves, and they're hurting other people. And um, you know, ignorance is just the worst thing that we can do to ourselves. And ignorance is bliss is probably one of the biggest lies ever told.
Yeah. And the destruction of the imagination. The imagination is the pathway to the creative intelligence, to God. You know what I mean? It's that direct connection, and that's what they do. That's why with the predator class, the social engineers, the dark occultists, I've been calling them the dark influencers, because that's really what they're doing. They're influencing you, and you are, or the people are making the choice
That's
to
right.
either be, you know, inactive, or just by their own free will they're making certain choices, and they're being influenced, because once you influence the mind, then it's a wrap. You can control, they can control their own behavior in a certain way. And the imagination, if you don't utilize your imagination, you can never see it, and then you can't achieve it. So if you can't see the potential, the pure potential in anything, um, you are, it's like spiritual death. That's why these dark influencers and the dark occultists call them the unbegun. That's just because the imagination is dead. They're spiritual stagnation, which is a shame.
I totally agree. I totally agree. You know, it's it's not that it's almost, like a irony, because there is this evil in the world, like I talked about, like being at Bilderberg and like feeling as if, there was this blackness and I was, this force that was, in opposition to that force of light. And the truly sick, evil psychopaths that, pull the world's strings, if you look close enough, people are pulling their own strings.
Hmm.
And that's the real evil. It's the real evil because it empowers people who shouldn't have any power, because we're all sovereign beings, but people have allowed others to usurp their sovereignty and then educate their children to keep it, going in perpetuity. And we've really got to break through that signal, to reach out to people. And I'm at the point where I don't get in arguments with people anymore. I don't want to debate things. I'm looking for the seekers. I'm looking for the people who are, you know, there's like the first level is, you've been lied to. And then there's all these, traps and cul-de-sacs to try to find the truth. And if you can get past those, then, you know, there's there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's just a matter of will.
Yeah.
There's a lot of traps on the way, but truth is a real thing, and truth is reality, and you can't escape it.
More light.
More
That's the
light.
only thing, right? It's
Yeah.
only light, light, and then the absence of light. And I wanted to say something because you were talking about traditions, and when I started to uh, take that self realization journey from a very dark place, I just started questioning myself and what made me tick, and how my mind worked, and then how does reality work. And I kept just searching and searching, and I wanted to get down to the root, to the cause, and that led me into the New Age movement, and then into the occult, and then I went through all these traditions, and I thought it was so beautiful because there's many paths to the absolute truth, to the objectivity of nature, that all these, at the core, all these mystery traditions and what natural law is, it's all there at the very root foundation. And I kept wanting to find where it's stemming from, where is the top of the pyramid, and that was natural law. So I just thought it was beautiful in an artistic way, that there's all these different types of traditions, all different types of backgrounds and cultures and all kinds of stuff. And so there's a flavor for everyone, and you don't have to go through these ancient mystery traditions. It can be what I've taken many traditions, and I've kind of formulated my own technique or my own traditions and rituals that I use that are just for me, and they work for me, and it's a work in progress. But I got little pieces of everything that resonated with me. And that's the artistic side of it, and it's beautiful. So
A very good point. Yeah, we don't have to necessarily, follow the paths that have already been laid out. Um, and sometimes we shouldn't. Um,
Renaissance.
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. So, who knows what sort of traditions are going to come out of this like melting pot of, all the mysteries being unveiled and just at our fingertips.
Dude, that's a good point. And I've been having discussions with people. Um, my cousin, he's always asking me, what is it going to look like when the society turns and starts to become more moral? And I'm like, it's unfathomable. It's going to be completely different. You can't relate it to the past. because we're talking about a new level of consciousness. Society will be completely different. And, there's a lot of things that we need to let go and stop doing, the majority of things. And then, we're going to create new systems that are aligned with morality. Um, and so it's just, it's mind blowing to try to imagine and comprehend where the possibility of where it could go, and that's what a paradigm shift is, right? It's a completely different reality. Um, so yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's again, it's it takes each different person putting out the work in a certain way that it might reach, different people that, you might not be able to reach, I might be able to reach, or I might not be able to reach, you guys can reach them. And so yeah, either through a poem or music, that's like, our boy Mike doing the Funky Fathers, putting out his music, it's like that format, people hear it in a different way, and it they might be more receptive to that as opposed to a 9-hour presentation or something like that, but
For
that might
sure.
open them up to the 9-hour presentation.
Right. Yeah, we all have different roles to play. We're all here fulfilling whatever our, true will is, but ultimately that's in harmony with, natural law and the higher will of creation. And yeah, we all have different voices, we all have different talents. And I guess that's really exciting to me. I think it would be really boring if everybody was kind of the same and couldn't branch out. And that's the great thing about the imagination, is that it's limitless. Like, we aren't limited. Like, we are not limited in the way that most people think. We do have limitations to some degree, but when it comes to our mind, especially if we can tap into that higher mind, that universal mind, that unity consciousness, that that is what can really change things.
And that only happens if we're doing what we're doing right now, you know what I mean? It's like we've like everything that happened in 2020, it's almost it's really interesting, especially with like Mark Passio's podcast and where he was at, and like this explosion of like people that are doing the work. It's kind of like, I mean, they maybe we've been doing it on some level, some people just started it, but it's like we've all kind of like come together, we're coming out of the woodworks, and it really is like this grassroots movement where we're all just like doing the same thing in a little bit different way, but supporting each other and encouraging each other. And so it's definitely one of the silver linings of 2020.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, there's a lot of people coming out of the woodwork and putting out some really good content, some really good material. And I can't wait to see who that's going to inspire, for the next level, the next
Exactly.
ripple.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So how big is the journal going to be?
Right now we're still getting started. There's um, not as many submissions as I was hoping for. Definitely even less on the aggregates classifieds. I would have thought more people would have jumped on that, but I'm hoping that this first issue can at least have a solid, give people like a taste of, what it could be. Because I feel like it could be big. Like, it could be like, easily 50 to 100 pages of an issue. um, it just really depends on how many people we get making submissions. That's, in the spirit of the journal. And I would hope that it just keeps building on itself over time as we get better with the content creation and promotion. And hopefully we can bring some people on board on some of that. Like, social media is something that I'm not good at and still trying to figure out. I had a meeting with a friend recently, gave me some good consulting and some good ideas. So I'll be making an Instagram account for the journal, because I feel like that's probably a good place to, since it's a very visual media type place, and there already is quite a big spiritual truth movement type presence on Instagram. Hopefully, it can bring more people to more light, and it can bring more light to more people. And I just hope that people can be inspired and they can realize, hey, I don't have to write a book. I could submit this essay, or I have this poem about the movements I was going through at this time in my life when shit got real, or shit got real spiritual. And you know it's going to be a community driven thing by the end of it. So it's about who in that community is putting forth work. The more effort we have from people and more submissions, the better it's going to be, the bigger it's going to be. So right now it's probably going to be like real slim, but we're doing bi-monthly, so every 2 months there'll be another one, and hopefully that'll be enough time to get that fire going, get that inspiration going, and I have high hopes.
Yeah, man. A spark can turn into a blaze. So, and that's such an important part is
It's
and I
true.
know I waited. I waited way too long. I could, I could have been doing content a couple years ago, but I waited. And that's kind of the thing. It's like once you get a solid understanding, go do it. Just jump on it and just start something, and then it as it progresses, it just gets bigger, and you grow from there. So I'll make sure I share the journal in the groups and all the peeps,
Oh
so
yeah, please
we can
do.
spread it
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, a parallel of your story and mine is, after I'd listened to all of Mark's work, I definitely went towards like Rudolf Steiner and Rosicrucianism. He talked a lot about Rosicrucianism, and we were talking a little bit about that before the show. AMORC, what does AMORC stand for again?
Ancient Mystical Order Rose Crucius, I
Oh,
believe.
okay. And they have a Bay Area they're located in San Jose, right?
They have a, yeah, that's their headquarters in San Jose. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, we were talking before we started recording, but yeah, like right in, it must have been 2019, I just looked, there's a Freemason temple in the town near where I live, and I looked into where there was like Rosicrucian classes, and it was there, and it was like once a week I'd go there, and it was really interesting. I mean, I only went for about 5 weeks, and then I think everything started getting locked down, but
Yeah.
I found it really interesting. And actually, there's a kind of a funny story where they had the upstairs, like the temple was upstairs, right? So you'd go in on the downstairs part, and like the visitors could come the second hour, because the first hour they did like their ceremony or whatever. So it
Right.
used to start at 7, and then I got there one time at like 7:30, I think, or something. And I don't know, I think I got there at 8, and like they had already started or something. They changed their schedule, and they were upstairs, and this woman let me in. And she's like, "Oh yeah, they're all upstairs, And I was like, "Well, I don't think I'm allowed to go up there, And she's like, "You can come up if you want." And I'm like, okay. So I go upstairs, and then I see all these pictures on the wall, and like all the Freemasons and everything. And then they invited me in to the temple, and I'm sitting in there, and I'm like, I'm not supposed to be in here, And I got to watch like this little ceremony they did. A couple of guys, like they got like, sworn into the order or whatever it was.
Oh wow,
And
cool.
I like watched it, you know, and I was like looking
You
around,
watch
whatever.
an actual initiation ceremony.
Yeah,
Yeah, you shouldn't have been there.
I know.
Yeah.
So then I go downstairs. Let me go downstairs later, and like everyone's sitting around eating and stuff. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, you know, like I'm not a member, you know. And they're like, oh. And I was like, yeah, the woman invited me in, you know, and I didn't think I was supposed to, but I wasn't sure, and I thought it would be rude if I said no.
She's not a member anymore either. They cut her.
That's cool though. Well, you know, Amorc has a powerful egregore, and they draw people in through stuff like that. So maybe the egregore wanted you to see that.
Yeah,
That's what I think anyway. Yeah, I had a really crazy synchronistic experience after I had visited an Amorc temple nearby for the first time, and that's what drew me into the order. And I've since put my Amorc studies down for the moment, looking into other stuff, but they are definitely a tried and true mystery school. A lot of the things that I've learned just from the intro stuff is very, very similar to things that you would learn on Mark Bassio's podcast for sure. But yeah, I want to tell you guys about this synchromistic event. I was at a Chipotle. I was celebrating. I was in Texas and I just got my first job, so I was celebrating and eating some Chipotle, and I was leaving, and I had the GPS going, I had the music going, I was about ready to pull out, and oh, the song that was playing at the time was called "The Window" by Thrice, my favorite band, great song. So it was playing. All of a sudden, my phone dies, and so I have to sit because I don't know where I'm going. I'm like brand new, right? I had to sit and wait for my phone to reset. As I'm sitting there, I look up and out the window, and directly across from me, parallel to me, in traffic, sitting at a red light, is the um I can't remember what they called the title, like the master servant, like the head person of the Amor lodge that I had visited, just sitting right there. And she does not like normally go through Fort Worth like once a week, and just happened to be there. And yeah, it was so freaky that
Oh wow.
I was like kind of afraid to ask her, like, did do you drive like a silver Jeep Liberty? Like, were you in Fort Worth? And I was like, okay, I saw you, and it was a really weird moment because I wouldn't have had my phone not reset, and looked out the window and told her that, and that was really neat. And then so I'm like, okay, Amorc, I'm in. You know, I'll see what you guys are about. And the first magazine I get sent is all about how people have synchronicities surrounding the order, and it draws them in.
Mm.
Wow.
that's
Oh
crazy.
wow, dude. Yeah,
That's
that's a
like a
sign.
synchronicity sandwich. It's like
Oh,
an
for sure.
eight-layer synchronicity burrito right there.
That's fantastic.
A triple entendre. Yeah. What was the name of their magazine? They had a magazine, right?
Rosicrucian Digest.
Okay.
Yeah, those are all free for people to look up on their website. They've got some really good resources and material online. Rosicrucian.org, I believe.
Yeah, and I think
They've got
if
a lot
you
of good material.
and I think if you sign up with them, become a member, you pay like a fee, but then you get access to a lot more information. I think it's actually stuff that you eventually would send back if you stopped being a member, if I'm not mistaken.
That's interesting. I'm not sure about that. They send monographs. Um,
That's
I
what I
think
think.
once a month.
Okay.
Um, is that part of the deal? You have to send it back. I didn't do that when I
I
stopped.
thought that they had said that, like they were saying Yeah, they would send you the monograph if you joined, and then if you ever like stopped being a member, like they would expected you to like send it back. But I don't know how
Yeah.
much they follow through on it, especially in the age of COVID, you know.
And yeah, and the digital age, if you try hard enough, you can find those monographs. I'm not
Yeah.
saying I did that and have all of them already, but I might have.
Some great Rosicrucian authors, John Baines, which is also
Stellar Man. Is that
all of his books, the Science of Love,
Hmm.
Hypnoconsciousness, The Secret Science, which is his first book. Stellar Man is his second. um, Internal Ecology. Yeah, I mean, he's got a whole collection, which is really good. And John Baines
Nice.
is like his pen name. His real name is Darius Salis Sommer. And then of course Max Heindel and Steiner. Max Heindel's got the Cosmic Conception, which is fantastic.
That's probably one of the first Rosicrucian books I read, and that is it's quite a tome
Oh
to
yeah.
work your way through, and it's well worth it. He says a lot about well, he even goes into the life review. He goes into the near death experience or post death experience for some people, and talks about the life review and how that's the law. That's the law. You reap what you sow. You reap what you sow here on earth, and you do it in the spiritual realm as well.
Yeah, it's only logical that, if you're here to learn and experience and grow, once you pass and transition, like you're gonna have some kind of review. That's the only
Mhm.
way you're gonna actually recognize your lessons,
It makes
the
sense.
good and the bad.
Yeah.
It does make sense for sure.
Oh,
but but did the
hey,
Rosicrucians build the Georgia Guidestones?
that is a great question. I don't know the answer to. I think that the Guidestones are really interesting. R.C. Christian, obviously, is a pseudonym. Um, the guy supposedly wrote a book, and it's what's it called? Common Sense Renewed, and it is satanic ideology in that book. So
Mm.
I wouldn't call him a true Rosicrucian. Um,
And
Now,
his name was like on the deed of the monument or something like that.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. I think that on the book, and you can find that PDF on that online pretty easily. But the book, it was just Robert Christian is the name that he used. So I'm not sure. I don't know too much about a deed to it. I think that would be an interesting
Yeah,
thing
I thought
to
I,
thing to
I
look at,
I
though.
thought I had heard that like, I mean, I don't know if his name like was signed on the monument or if it was like
I
when
think
they
it is on
traced
the monument.
when they traced it back to who built it, it went to a guy named R.C. Christian or something like that. But people were
Hmm.
saying that they thought it was a reference to the Rosy Cross, right?
Right. Yeah. Like reading that book, if you understand what satanic ideology is, um, you'll pick up on the fact that this isn't talking about needing to depopulate and even like mad scientist stuff like cloning. Like, no, come on.
Yeah,
You know, it seemed very materialist to me.
got it. I'll have to check it out. I'm curious.
Yeah, I just thought I'd throw that in there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, that's a great question.
I, yeah, I
Because I
always thought it
think
was
I
good.
think it's kind of a red herring. I think it intentionally
Yeah.
is meant to, throw people off the trail, and it's a easy, oh, it's a secret society, and it's easy for people to just point a finger and not really have to think much about it, and just, oh, it's the Rosicrucians, oh yeah, and
Yeah.
then totally be polarized against learning any actual Rosicrucian teachings or philosophy.
Exactly. I agree with that.
Definitely. Cool. So when does the first episode come out, or the first issue?
First issue of the More Light Journal should be out really soon. Andy was sick, so I told him to take rest, take care of yourself, and we'll be working on this real soon, before the end of the month, hopefully in a couple weeks, maybe even a week. That'd be real sweet. I don't have an official launch date set, since it's so just set such a new frontier for us. We want to get it right and then put it out.
For sure. Yeah, morelightjournal.com.
That's right. Yeah.
And people can go there and they can subscribe, and they can also submit work.
Yeah, on the website, there's a place to get on the email list so you can get the issue when it comes out and be notified. And there's a place to submit your work. And there's also a place to put an ad in for the Agorist classifieds.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Yeah, we made it easy for people.
It is a slick website. It's just really nice and user friendly. So good job on that.
I agree.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, Philip, it's nice to meet you.
Yeah, likewise.
And I appreciate you doing the great work, and I might be submitting some work to you.
Sweet. Yeah, please do. Yeah, I thank you guys for having me on your show. That means a lot. It's an honor.
Oh, it's a pleasure, Philip. Thanks so much. John's gonna submit his poetry.
Heck yeah.
He's got
Sweet.
He's got some bars to drop.
Heck yeah. Heck
Cool,
yeah.
man. Thanks
Yeah,
for
and I
coming
think
on, brother.
I think we can get this out to people who would be interested. So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thank you, because I need help in promoting this, and this is a good content place that I would just so happy to have my name up there, and hopefully shine some more light on the More Light Journal.
exactly.
Awesome, man. Thanks for doing the
All right.
great work, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thank you, Will.
Thanks, John.
And always remember, put something good in the air and plant something good in the earth. Peace.
We be the natural freedom league, cause we become no longer unvegan. We seek in the wisdom, and that's why we did come to this prison, a prism. And that's why the beat thumps, and that's why we speak up. We be the natural freedom league, cause we become no longer unvegan. We seek in the wisdom, and that's why we did come to this prison, a prism. And that's why the beat thumps, and that's why we speak